Benoit. Joining me right now is Johnny Grunge's widow, Penny Bordeaux-Durham. Your husband was on steroids for many, many years. Why did he do it?
That's what they all did. And not only that, he said it made him feel invincible when he got out in the ring, that he felt like he could take the world on and you know, jump off the ladders, jump through tables, and to do all the things that they did in the ring.
Did Aston prescribe him pain medication, painkillers?
Well, see, that's the kayfabe thing that the wrestlers have between them, the top secret stuff. And so most of the wrestling wives, this is totally hidden. And so if I would find the pill bottles, then I would contact the doctor's office.
Were they painkillers?
And yeah, they're all painkillers, and tell them about the problem that he had.
You actually call doctors begging them not to prescribe to Johnny Grunge?
Yes.
What did they say? Well,
some of them listened, and some of them, there was one doctor's office, and they just wouldn't talk to me. And then the Privacy Act came in, and there was nothing I could do. So it was a dead-end street, basically.
Did he feel he had to take steroids in order to compete and win?
Well, that's what he felt that he had to do at that time. But the Roy Rages were unbelievable.
Why are all these wrestlers dying, and we know what they're dying from, and nothing's being done to clean up the sport? There is no investigation, there is no congressional oversight, there's nothing going on, and that to me is more tragic than the deaths themselves.
Tonight it is revealed that the feds are bringing down a superseding indictment against the doctor to the wrestling stars, Philip Aston III, obviously bringing down more charges after the death of superstar Benoit. He also treated another wrestling star, Johnny Grunge, his widow, with us tonight. Joining us is Penny Bordeaux-Durham, the wife of Michael Durham. He died with an enlarged heart and acute toxicity. You said his steroid rages were unbelievable. Explain.
Yeah, one time we were you know, we were just having a conversation and talking, and you know, drank a couple beers, and he just went off, and he came after me with the butcher knife, and I got down on my knees, and I just started praying, and then it just started dissipating.
What do you think of these doctors? Your husband was taking 70 or more pills a day.
It's unbelievable, and they need to be stopped, because this is no different than the drug dealer at the corner. It's a suburbanite drug dealer, and
that gets away with it because they have a medical license.
Because they have a medical license.
It's Charges against Benoit's doctor may grow. Prosecutors will present evidence to the grand jury for a second time after combing through thousands of documents. Many wonder if famous names may surface. And Florida Congressman Cliff Stearns is calling for hearings on steroids in professional wrestling. Stearns says the abnormally high number of deaths should raise congressional alarms.
And it's not just that ever-growing list of professional wrestlers left dead, now nearly 100. What about all the high school students that think they have to take steroids too? What about the little 7-year-old boys that have pro wrestlers on posters up in their room? What are they going to do when they have the chance to take anabolic steroids? You think they'll say no? Or will they do what their heroes like Johnny Grunge and Benoit did? Right now, the feds mulling over additional superseding indictment against the doctor to the stars, Dr. Philip Aston III, after 3 raids on his home, his office, his storage unit. What are the feds really going to do? Everything heating up with congressional hearings being demanded. Out to the line, Cindy in Ohio. Hi, Cindy.
Good evening, friend. My question is, at the time of Johnny Grunge's death, was there an autopsy done? And I believe you answered that part of my question, but with all the empty pill bottles found, why wasn't anything with Dr. Aston's name, why wasn't that ever investigated at the time before Chris Benoit's death? And if Dr. Aston is found guilty, do any of these families have a recourse as far as a civil suit?
Well, that is what we call in the courtroom a compound question, but I'm going to answer it. First of all, let's go to the lawyers. Joining us, Renee Rockwell, Lauren Lake. If it is proven that Aston overprescribed to Johnny Grunge, can the family have a lawsuit against him?
Oh, yes. Wrongful death all the way, Nancy.
Renee, do you agree or disagree?
I agree, Nancy, that you can file a lawsuit for anything and there could be possible recovery.
I don't mean that. There's frivolous lawsuits every day. I mean a legitimate lawsuit.
I don't think if it would be a frivolous lawsuit, but I don't see any criminal involvement for the murders, not anything
I didn't ask you that. I didn't ask you about Chris Benoit murdering his wife and his little boy. And P.S. tonight, we still don't know why the 7-year-old boy has track marks on his arm. Can somebody answer that? I'm talking about Johnny Grunge and others, Renee, that Aston treated. There's 100 people. I don't know how many are connected to Aston. I know of 2 that are dead.
Nancy, you can file a lawsuit, but the first thing that a defense attorney is going to say is, hey, they did it themselves. They took those pills themselves, and therefore you're going to take me out of this lawsuit because this was choice. The thing you need to remember, Nancy, is if you can't get these pills legally, you can always get them on the black market.
You know what I have to say to that? Carol Connor. Remember Archie Bunker? He brought a lawsuit, and I'm going to direct this to the widow of Johnny Grunge, joining us tonight in a primetime exclusive. Penny Bordeaux-Durham speaking out. He sued his son's a drug dealer, okay? It has happened. There is precedent for it. Now, I want to go back, Penny, to some of Cindy in Ohio's questions for you. The guy dies, your husband dies with empty pill bottles by his bed. He had an enlarged heart. I take it there was an autopsy, Penny.
There was an autopsy, and I received the report 6 months later.
Why, I'm just wondering why there was not a formal investigation into the doctors at that time that prescribed him. You said he was taking over 70 pills a day. He had to get them somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and then I addressed the question, to the investigators, and basically, they need more. It can't, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and I'm sure that they were working on it, but it just that they needed more. And then what happens is with this thing with Chris, then it basically broke the mold. It broke everything open. Yeah, and
why are people within the industry, Penny, so very afraid to speak out?
Because they can't. They'll lose their job. They lose the fortune, the fame, the notoriety, and most of them have no kind of skills to do anything else. And a lot of the wrestlers that lost their job, they were depressed. And it's once a wrestler, always a wrestler, and that's basically the motto. And it is so true. It holds true, not to all of them, but most of them.
Back to superstar Billy Graham, a member of the WWE Hall of Fame and friend of Benoit. Benoit, speaking of depression, Penny's just talking about wrestlers being depressed, would just break down at these funerals and the news of yet another wrestling death.
Yes, Nancy, and first of all, let me offer my sincere condolences to Penny, and I should put you on the phone with my wife, Valerie, because Valerie has actually pulled food out of my mouth while I'm choking to death on taking an overdose of drugs, commonly and daily and weekly and monthly. She went through hell with superstar Billy Graham, and I'm sure she could help console you. And number 2, let's stop calling Aston a doctor. Let's call him, Nancy, a monster that he is. Let's call him a quack. Let's call him a greedy, evil devil. That's my opinion of wrestlers who feed off of professional wrestlers, or rather doctors who feed off professional wrestlers, baseball players, or who else it may be.